Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
How am I?
Oh, you're going
It
to tell the
feels,
truth. Okay, go.
yeah, sorry. I'm very transparent. It's Friday. It feels very much like a Friday. It feels like it's been a week.
Mm,
It's been full. It's been a little tumultuous. It's been emotional. It's been
mm.
challenging. It's been fulfilling and satisfying.
Oh
It's
my
been a week.
God. Yeah. Well, you look very well on it, Ali.
Get it?
You look really you look really good. Get
Thank you.
it.
Like, you'll have, well, I don't know about you, but I maybe have 4 days in a year where my hair is like, yes. And today is one of those days. Like, I
Looks
don't want to
really good.
move or go outside.
It looks really good. What did you do to it? Did you
I,
tong it?
I don't know what that means.
Um, Curling iron.
Yes, tong.
Looks good. Tong. I call them tongs. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they are a tong. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I have to
Tong it.
tong it. It sounds dirty.
All the words sound ridiculous, and we have to repeat them a few times. Tong.
Teku? What's a teku? All right.
Oh, so it's one of those 4 days. Well, you look groovy, my friend. You look
How has your week
beautiful.
been, my dear?
Um, okay, well, I'll tell the truth then, because earlier I said I'm fine.
And
Hi.
you're not?
I have been really overwhelmed.
Mm,
Just, yeah, overwhelmed to the point of sort of feeling anxious. Um, Yesterday morning, I do have heart arrhythmia where it
mm.
misfires. So it
Yeah,
goes, every now and then it'll just kind of go like really fast.
yeah.
But I had that for about an hour yesterday morning. So every time I stood up, I was like, oh no, I don't feel okay. So I lay down again. So
Mm,
yeah, and I think um, feeling overwhelmed and anxious is not helpful. That thing happens anyway now and then. But
mhm,
yeah, so I've been things have been felt like they've been a lot.
mhm.
So
Okay,
there we go. I'm just gonna
great.
sit here and pull faces.
How's your heart this morning? Or no, sorry, your afternoon.
Um, Lunchtime. Heart is fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
If it starts to
everything's
go goofy,
yeah. If I pass out, if I just
we'll stop recording.
slide out the screen,
Now, is
okay?
it 911 in England or is there a different number that we call there?
Um, oh gosh, I don't know. It's probably changed. No, it's not 911.
Mm,
Used to be 999. I think it's something weird now, like 211 or something.
what?
I know it's ridiculous.
Why?
But yeah, hopefully that won't be necessary.
Good.
So, Alison, what
Yeah.
are we talking about today, my friend, my pretty little friend?
So had been, we kind of both went through a thing recently where I felt like I was getting stalled out and you were feeling a little stalled out and
Can you
um,
define stalled out for the English listeners?
stuck.
Okay.
Stuck. You know, when a plane like flying and then it gets a little too steep, it'll stall and it'll actually fall down until it. I'm going to stop talking about planes. So I felt stuck
Mm,
and I didn't really know why. And uh, I was like, I was having a lot of emotion, but I didn't want to have the emotion. So I wasn't feeling the emotion. I would just kept pushing it off to the side. And then you and I had a conversation. You helped me articulate, oh gosh, there's a fear somewhere. And it's not like a fear, a big fear, it's a subtle fear that's
mm,
kicking up some of my survival mechanisms to keep me
mm,
safe because I was feeling concerned about things. So um,
mm.
that's what got me stuck was this fear. And then my survival mechanism was like, you're fine, just hide, don't go out there, lay on the couch, eat all the chips.
Yeah.
And then you and I talked and you helped me to see, oh gosh, your survival mechanism is doing exactly what it's supposed to.
Mm,
You don't feel
yeah.
safe, like safe. I Some of these words have gotten
Mm,
so loaded. I think, like trigger and trauma and safe. And so I want to be really careful. I want to be accurate and precise in my language.
Particularly when you say them like that, triggered and
That's how
really
I
loaded.
feel, right? I know some of these
Yeah.
words are just like, wow, we've really kind of like
Yeah. Mm,
twisted them into something that I don't think that was what they are.
mm,
Anyways, but there's a safety aspect. There is a fear somewhere. And
mm,
to me, it's really subtle. It's hard to find. There's just like
mm.
a hint of it. So it was hard for me to find without, well, you helped me find it.
Well, obviously, because I'm brilliant.
Mm, thank you.
But also, I mean, it's often quite hard to see things when we're in it.
Yeah.
So it's great, isn't it, if you've got someone who can, who can support you to see what you're just blind to because you're just turning around in circles,
Yeah.
kind of not panicking, but but sort of like ah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the thing that you and I sort of found really interesting was how feeling safe, psychologically safe, physically safe,
Yeah.
all the versions of safe, but feeling safe actually seems to support growth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, I mean, I may have gone straight to the to the takeaway.
And
Ta-da!
it was good seeing you today. Podcast
Yeah,
is over. Yes.
bye. But that very much, we talk a lot about psychological safety. And again, that can become not so much loaded, but almost like we can be a bit blasé about it.
Yeah.
In the work that you and I do, it's kind of
Hmm.
like, yeah, wow, 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 whatever, get on with the work. But actually, what I've seen this week is that creating
Yeah.
sufficient psychological safety allows us to be brave and to move out from our
Yeah.
comfort zone, our safety zone,
Hmm.
and dare to put a toe into the new water, the different water. It allows us to open up and expand a little bit.
Yeah.
And what you and I noticed in that conversation when we were talking, when you were on the sofa eating crisps, um, was that you didn't feel safe.
Yeah. I
You
felt
didn't.
my words were, I'm here again and nobody has my back.
Yes.
And then that was an emotional, a very young part of me that comes up and I feel like a small child again where
Mm,
nobody's got my back. And so it's a deep pain. Uh and and I'm like, what do I want to say about it? It always surprises me because I'm like, but I'm not 5.
mm,
Why does
yeah.
that continue to pop up? And at the end of the day, I'm not sure it matters why. The fact
Mm,
is that it does. And when I I'm able to like, is validate the right word or maybe allow it some time and space, our friend would say honor it, show it some reverence, that somehow then I'm able to start making moves again.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. And that feels like bringing all parts of self
Yeah.
with us as we move forward
Yes.
and not leaving parts behind or ignoring parts. Um, I'm just slowing down a little bit to see where we want to go
Mm.
in the conversation. Go,
I
you had
would
an
love to
idea.
hear if you would share kind of what you have just been through as well, because then there's two
Mm,
stories that people might be able to then relate
mm.
to.
What have I been through? Oh my God, I can't remember, Ali. Sign
So
it to me.
you were struggling with a decision that you were going to make, and you realized you were looking externally for all the reasons why you were going to make this decision until you like turned it on yourself, and you're like, oh,
Oh my
I
God,
actually have to be.
my mind is blank.
You're not getting it.
No, type it to me.
You
WhatsApp
sent
it
me
to
a
me.
text that said, I have my own back.
Oh
You were
my
gonna,
Lord,
do you know what I'm talking about now?
Ali. I think this could be early onset dementia, although
I'm pretty
I'm not
sure.
that young.
What
I'm
number
not
do I
that
call
young
for
to
that?
in the notes. Oh
Okay,
my Lord. I
this is
don't
hilarious.
remember.
I'm
This
gonna
is so
text
good.
it to you right now.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
want to say it because I don't want
No,
anybody,
don't
I
say
don't want to
it.
out
Don't say
anybody.
it because it could be top secret. You
Yes,
know how a lot of the stuff I'm
we're
working with
very
is top
important.
secret.
We're very important people. Did you get it?
I did.
Now do you know what I'm
Okay,
talking about?
yeah. I do, yeah. I don't want to talk about that. That
Okay,
is
great.
so funny.
Let's confirm
That
that
is
that will not be
so,
part of the show today.
that will not be part. Okay, edit. Tracy can edit that out later when she's going through the edits. Let me think of another example
What
on the
about?
fly.
No, you can't do that one either. That's
No, I
family.
can't do any. My life is incredibly top secret. I mean, what can I say?
It is.
Um, I don't know that we need another example, not least because we don't have one.
I love it.
So, so that won't be happening.
What if
Um,
what if we
yeah,
get a
go.
little bit more in like granular about
I
my
feel like I need to
example?
go. Come on, Mia,
Um,
go.
the thought
Right,
is
go.
that
I'm ready.
because I'm being vague, so
Yeah,
I
it's all a bit
I'm
vague.
working, so let me just be detailed so people can, if anybody's listening, please, can understand the decisions that I was kind of sitting in. So I hired a business coach. So my business in the last 3 years, I have the same revenue basically last 3 years. Like I'm sitting at this imaginary ceiling and I can't seem
Mm,
to bust through it, which is
mm,
great. I have a great life. If it never changes for the rest of my life, I will be fine. However,
mm,
I am challenged. I love to challenge myself and I love to continue to grow. So I hired a business coach this year and working with him, and he has a system that is very effective, works for him, works for a lot of people that a lot of his clients. And so he was like, so like here's a system.
mm,
And I have been like, okay, cool, I get it. But then I've not been using his system. And
mm,
I've been like tweaking it a little bit or like popping it in here and there, but I wasn't really doing the system. And we had a conversation last week where he said, help me understand why you're not using it's not like it just started. Like I've been working with him for over a year. So I've been avoiding the system, actively avoiding the system for a year. Not because, like, I don't even know why. It's not that I have the answer where I don't
mm,
believe in the system or I think the system is stupid. It's just for some reason, when I think about doing the system, I go blank and I can't get started. So when he was like, so what's going on? And I had a million excuses or three. And I said, and I'll keep going if you let me, but they're all excuses. And they're valid, but they're excuses. So
mm,
there's something in my way. And he was like, you need to figure that out. And that was it. And so then I sat with that all weekend. I couldn't sleep. I was having weird, like anxiety attacks at 2 o'clock in the morning and not able to get back to sleep. And I was just kind of out of sorts. And again, not understanding what that was. And then you and I got on a call, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but I remember the insight, which was,
mm.
Allison, is this like a place where you're not trusting yourself? You know, what if you don't have your own back? You're saying like nobody has your back, but like you kind of don't have your back right now. And when I could let that like young part of me just kind of feel the feelings of like being abandoned, that's a little strong. I would say maybe rejected. Um, I think the thing that kicks up in me is more like I'm irrelevant or insignificant. So anything that kind of touches that nerve gets me all
Mm.
activated. And once I got through that, the very next, well, that evening I slept, and then I took massive action. That Friday,
Mm.
I sent out, like, I took a lot of action and I did exactly his system. And then
mm,
this week has been the same thing, just like one foot in front of the other, take at least one action a
mm,
day. And that's kind of now I'm progressing.
mm. So thank you for laying that story out, or that experience. And then there seems to have been something happened when you had that insight, something changed or shifted.
Yeah.
And what you and I are interested in is, what are the sort of conditions that I need in order to be able to take risk?
Yeah.
And it felt risky. Correct any of this that's wrong, but it felt risky for you to take these actions, to follow the system that this person, you know, that you've paid this person to
Yeah.
educate you in. But that felt really risky. And when you started to, you know, be questioned about it, you went to a very, very, I mean, I'm shorthanding this, but you went to a
Yeah.
very young place
Hmm.
where you, the words I have for it, you felt you were left to your own devices.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
not, yeah, not that you were abandoned, but you were
Yeah.
just sort of left to get on with it a bit.
Hmm.
Um,
And
and
you also pointed out that the anxieties in the middle of the night that were keeping me awake was that I was going to end up in a van down by the river. And I was like,
mm,
I don't know why that keeps coming up. And you were like, how? It's obvious to me. And I was like, what are you seeing? And you're like, because you've always been left to like take care of shit yourself.
yeah,
There's just been like, it's neglect is kind of maybe how my childhood felt. And
yeah,
I'm not saying that anybody neglected me. I'm not saying any of that. It
yeah,
is my perception as a child that I was
yeah,
kind of like left to figure it all out. I spent a lot of
yeah,
time alone
yeah.
without guidance
E-
or support.
Eating Pop Tarts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, left to get on with it on your own.
Mm,
Um, which is a huge responsibility for a very young self.
right.
Yeah.
And so then you can draw the parallel that no matter what I do, I'm going to be left alone again
Mm.
in the van
Yeah.
by the
In the
river.
van down by the river on your own. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the piece that you and I sort of were looking at
Mm,
was, how do I, on the one hand, step into all of this, you know, like you've reached a ceiling, you've been at this place for 3 years, you think, oh, maybe there's more, maybe I can create more, maybe I can do more. So you want that sort of adventure, the excitement of trying new things, the
yeah.
risk, if you like, of trying new things. And you have a very adventurous spirit.
Mm,
It's very
thank
much
you.
part of you. So how do I step into that when I've got this other part of me, which is almost pulling me in the other direction,
That's right.
and feels scared and nervous and doesn't want to, and just wants to be small and curl up on the sofa and eat crisps and just be safe under a blanket?
Yeah.
How do I work with that? And what you and I were sort of playing with in that call was an NLP technique of placing all of that adventure. Am I going in the right direction? Are
You're
you good
great.
with
Yeah,
this?
because
Yeah.
I think this is the crux of what everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So what we did in that call was we just invited you. I mean, in fact, we even talked through it. We didn't actually even do it, but we just talked about the NLP, neuro linguistic programming sort of technique that I know barely anything about, of placing in your dominant hand all of that sort of adventure and, you know, and desire for new, exciting success, difference, fun, all those new pieces that are not run of the mill, not where you are now, not super familiar. And then in the other hand, your less dominant hand, putting all of that desire for safety and protection. And then, so what do I do with them? And that NLP technique invites you to bring the two hands together and invite them to work harmoniously together. And somehow I think that felt like that was, even though I didn't think you were actively doing it, but
I
you
did
were
it while we were on the phone and you said to do
okay.
the thing. I did.
Yeah,
And then
you
I did
did.
this, right? And then,
Yes.
yeah.
And then the next step
And
is
then
to
you
sort
bring
of
it.
bring them
Yep.
to you and allow
Yep.
them to sort of integrate. And it's very symbolic and it's
Yeah.
really, really simple. But I find that such a lovely invitation. It's not either or, that I either have the adventure, the stepping
Right.
into newness, which could be called risk, something I don't know or understand, I haven't done yet, like,
Right.
or I have to be safe, wrapped up under a blanket, stay small, stay within the what I know.
Right.
Like, I don't want either or. I would love a life where I can try new things and still have the experience of feeling safe and protected
Mm-hmm.
while I step forward. And that was what really interested you and I, sort of knowing the training we've had, that the survival mechanism that's put together, when we're very young, is there to serve us. It's there to
Yeah.
keep us safe. It's there to
Yeah.
protect us. It's there to it's part of how we work out how to be in the world. And it's valid and valuable. And we don't want to be in a position where we are having to tame it, appease
Yeah.
it,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it, tolerate it. But actually, this is a really lovely idea. How do I bring them together so that they
Yeah.
can actually both bring their skills? How do both of those sets of desires come together and use their skills
Yes, right.
and allow both of those intentions, really good intentions, to work harmoniously together for my good?
Yeah. So that's kind of the punchline, if you can get to that place. And I think, like, now that I try to dissect all this, I couldn't get to the part where I knew my survival mechanism was activated, but I couldn't understand in my own head by myself as of last week. I hadn't figured out what exactly the fear was. And so instead of diving into it, I didn't want to, because then I cry, or I have a discomfort, or I have like an emotional reaction, which never feels great. Now, well, I won't go there. So when I say, one of the things that I notice with people is I'll say, okay, so then what are you scared of? And it's like an automatic reaction for many of us to say, I'm not scared. Like, what are you scared of? And they're like, I'm not scared. And you're like, okay, you're human. So you have the capacity to feel fear. I hope. There's a bear, you're going to be afraid. So, but when we talk about these types of fears, the fear of being irrelevant, the fear of getting it wrong, the fear of failure, looking stupid, I I couldn't uncover that one because it's so subtle. I just knew that it was like, it was there, and I knew the feeling. And then I'm waking up in the middle of the night with myself, all by myself, and we're going to lose the house
Mm,
and we're going to run out of money,
mm,
all of which intellectually are very low risk. And yet I
mm.
couldn't shake it. So, like, my head, sorry. So, what were you going to say?
No, just you saying you couldn't shake it, because we sort of did a little bit of a reality check on it. We interrogated the thinking, and it's like, that is never going to happen. You're so good at what you do. You're so good at making connections. You're so good at building your business. You're so good at offering a wonderful service, that is never, that fear, that thing you're frightened of, is never going to happen. I would say, minimal to zero chance of it ever happening. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But there's something old and, well, from a long time ago and very young, not old, but very,
Right, right,
very
right.
young, that was triggered at the idea of trying something new and because you've just said, Ali, what you've created has been consistent for the last 3 years, pretty much.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
now
rinse and
become your
repeat.
normal. yeah,
Hmm.
it's become normal for you. So stepping beyond that, there's an element of risk. You're then stepping out of your comfort zone into something
Yeah.
you're stretching.
Hmm.
And that is what triggered that really young part of yourself. And because you're an adult and you're very, complex and sophisticated, your thinking is fast.
Yeah.
It was probably too fast to notice
Yeah.
that really
And so
subtle.
it's like now the symptoms are how I know something's up, where I'm
Mm,
like wanting to comfort eat, where I'm waking up in the middle of the night with anxiety, where I'm finding myself not really being present to myself. I'm
mm,
clearly avoiding. And the frustrating part of all of it was like I couldn't figure out exactly what I was avoiding. I just knew I was not looking there. And yet I
mm,
couldn't, I didn't know, I don't even know how to say this.
mm,
I don't know what there is. I just knew I
mm.
wasn't, there was some like dark force that was kept pushing on me and I could not figure out what it was.
Yeah. So once you'd sort of that really simple technique of playing with the idea of bringing the two
Yeah, yeah.
things
Yes.
together,
Hmm.
what what difference did that idea make?
So what's interesting to me is that I felt a massive sense of relief when I said, oh gosh, yes, when I was little, I had this feeling where I was left on my own. Like I kind of was
Mm,
just abandoned a little bit. And I had a lot of emotion with that. And when I allowed that emotion to finally just move through my physical body and I shed tears and like I spoke the thing and it hurt for a few minutes. And then, like, once it moved through, that felt like that was the unlocking. So
mm,
that felt like I could finally now move to the next step. And then it's like, okay, can I take these two things? Can I put them together? For intellectually, that felt really nice because now I've got a foundation
mm,
where I can take little risks or I can take big
mm,
risks. And then that will determine the size of my adventure. I can take a big
mm,
adventure or I can take a lot of little adventures. And right now I'm taking a lot of little adventures because I don't know, my theory is that's how I roll. That's how I progress. I don't like big leaps. I like nice tiny steps. And that's like in
mm,
everything, right? I never
mm,
procrastinate. If
mm,
I've got let's say I do have a keynote in May, I'm working on it now and I'm practicing
mm,
it now because by the time May comes around, I just want it to be like a thing. I could
mm,
procrastinate and I could probably, yeah, but I don't.
mm.
So I think this is
You so
kind
you
of the way I
never
do stuff.
procrastinate. You've never been a procrastinator.
Very rarely, very
God,
rarely.
I think we need to bottle that, Ali, and sell it.
Yeah, I know likey.
No.
I hate procrastinating. I hate that feeling that I have to rush something. It's never worked for me.
I
I,
don't know that it works for anybody, but
it
yeah.
does. It absolutely does. I have clients that procrastinate and like I think it's a sign of if you're really brilliant, you can get away with it. But I was
Mm,
not that brilliant. I'm not saying I'm not brilliant. My intelligence, my ability to learn comes from homework. I had to do the problems to
mm,
understand it. I couldn't sit in a classroom and get it. I can't read and get it. I have to hear it, read it, see it, and then I've got to go out and practice it. That's
mm,
just the way I am. Otherwise, I don't truly understand it.
mm,
So procrastination for me was never effective.
mm. So what about the sort of coming back to that piece then about the fact that it feels it feels weird, but that psychological safety is key to innovation.
Okay, so how did I get to feel safe to take the next step? I think it was by this is the vision in my mind. So this is how I see it is that there was like this little Allison and she has pigtails and she's fucking cute and she has big buck teeth and she's just like, "Excuse me." hello, right? And she's just like, she keeps following me around. She's like, this
Mm,
isn't, don't forget, like we get left to our own devices and we're gonna get fucked. So
mm,
I'm here to like keep tapping on you. So she's tapping and tapping and tapping, and I'm not. I'm just like, no, thank you. I don't want to. I don't like it. It hurts. It's painful. It makes me cry. As soon as I turned towards her energetically in that call with you, and we were able
mm,
to articulate, she was trying to send a message to me like, hey, when you take risk, like you could get left out again. You'd be out all by yourself again. That's a risk. And once I was able to look at her and be like, oh my God, thank you. Thanks for making sure that I don't get left out again. That, I think, opened up the door for me to finally feel like, okay, we're good. Like she's with me now.
yes.
Can you make sense of that?
Yeah, I can. I think we may already have said it. It feels like taking all parts of ourselves forward,
Yeah.
not abandoning pieces of ourselves, not abandoning or cutting out the piece that is, or the part of ourselves that is nervous or anxious about the future.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know another way to say it apart from that feeling psychologically safe means I have the strength to take adventures.
Okay. I think I'm getting
Something came
something
to
here.
you.
Yeah.
Share.
I had to write it down so I don't lose it. So I
Mm,
think the honoring the small part of me that is a part
mm,
of me that I was like, no, thank you. Once I brought her in and I acknowledged her, I then felt like I had the safety to move forward, which is counterintuitive, right? Because you're kind of like, well, she's the one that keeps pointing out that you're not safe, so why would you honor her? I'm
mm,
sorry, I don't have an answer to that. But as soon as I did, I
mm,
was then like, okay, then the next day is when that night I slept, and the next
mm,
day I took action. So, okay, maybe they're coincidences. Maybe I'm seeing a correlation where there isn't one,
mm.
possibly.
Yeah.
Um, Although I've had enough rounds of this in my lifetime where it's like as soon as I
Mm,
address the thing that is
mm,
is I guess the right, it did feel like it was pulling on me or like holding
mm,
me, like you may not move
mm,
forward until we deal with this thing, and yet I didn't know what the thing was. Once I deal with that thing, which is usually again, it's a fear. There's some fear in there that once I look at it, I understand it, I articulate it, I move the emotions through, then I'm able to move forward.
mm. Yeah, in a group that I'm running at the moment, um,
It's a secret group. That's very important.
obviously, yeah, top secret group. Um, the people in that group are doing phenomenal work,
Mm.
sharing, saying out loud with other people listening, some really like deep stuff that they haven't looked at, stuff they don't that's embarrassing or even shameful. It feels shaming for them to share out loud, stuff they don't want to look at.
Yeah.
um, and what I'm noticing is, and relating it to this question, is that we did a lot of work up front and continuously to make sure that people felt really safe in that group. They could stop whenever they wanted to. They could start a sentence and go, actually, no. They
Yeah.
had full control over, over how they were being in the group, how much they shared, how much they didn't share. As one of the two people running the group, working to make sure that we were open and we were soft and we were vulnerable.
And
And somehow,
you had to do something pretty major to make that a safe space because there was somebody in the group that wasn't
yeah,
safe.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's a big
absolutely.
deal.
Yeah, so sort of working, yeah, that sort of, I suppose, is a parallel story this week that's been running alongside your story,
Yeah,
that was my responsibility to create
yes,
psychological, safety, to work to create a psychologically safe environment for these
right.
people to do their work in.
Yeah,
And by creating that psychological safety, this really lovely, warm, loving, safe space, they've been able to move from their comfort zone, their familiar zone, and stretch a little bit and take risks.
Yeah.
Weirdly, because they're safe enough to do so.
Yes.
I think somehow in my head, I've often held it that it's either or. I either need to be safe or I need to be taking risks. And what I'm seeing is actually these two things, they're like a Venn diagram.
Yes.
But, you know, they can be, in fact, they almost have to be working together in order for me to be able to take risks, big or small adventures, as you said. I need to have a level of safety and security to be able to feel I can do that I can step forward.
Yep.
So somehow that feels sort of like it doesn't make sense and it isn't the way I've always held it, but now it suddenly makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And I don't know that we've ever looked at it in this way. I've never looked at it. Sorry. I've never looked at it in this way.
I don't feel I have either, which maybe sounds crazy, but I think I've always held it as either or. I'm either safe or I'm out there taking risks. And now I'm like, oh no, because I'm safe, I can go out and take risks.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're intrinsically linked.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Which I didn't see before.
What has you feel safe to take risks? Like in your own life?
We might have to play some music in this pause. A little bit of lift music whilst I muse upon that question. Well, one answer could be the having my own back
What does that mean?
That you said earlier. I think it's being for myself almost like a best friend. Like if I had a really good best friend, I'd want her or him to really listen to me, you know, take what I was saying as valid, take it seriously, kind of trust me. And so I'm increasingly like that with myself.
Yeah.
Respecting my intuition, respecting my gut feeling, trusting myself. You know, if you were poorly and you were here, Ali, I would, you know, make you nice food and I would put a blanket over you and I would look after you. So
let me just interrupt. For the American audience, if I were poorly means if you were sick. Please continue.
Is that not something you would say?
No,
Poorly.
and I love that term so much. If you were poorly. So good. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. So yeah, so me being one of the things that has me feel safe is knowing that I can do that. I am doing that for myself. I'm being kind to myself. I'm being loving to myself. I'm taking my thoughts seriously. When I have an idea, I'm like, damn, that's a really good idea. I'm championing myself.
Yeah. Wow.
Those things have me feel safe because I can rely more and more on myself. Not exclusively. Other people are more than welcome to champion me because I love it. Yes. But you know, I am sort of whole and complete in myself. So I'm supporting myself. And I think all of that has me feel whole, complete, safe, and more able to take little forays into that stretch zone.
When you are in that space and you take a risk and the risk doesn't go the way you think it will, what happens?
Self-doubt. Self-doubt. I risked something. I can answer that before you even finish the sentence. I risked this week sharing with somebody my experience of how I feel when I am doing, you know, something I really love, when I'm facilitating groups.
Yep.
And I shared what that internal experience felt like for me.
Yeah.
using the words that made complete sense to me and perfectly describe for me, my experience. And of course, you know, they were landing in the ears and the beliefs and the mind of another person. And their response, I know this person really well, and I know that they really love me and really care about me and admire and respect me. That's all I've ever received from that person. So if it isn't true, their acting is brilliant, because I'm totally convinced that this person loves me and thinks I'm brilliant. But their reaction was sort of like slightly off for me. It wasn't quite what I expected, and it landed. It's almost like passing a ball backwards and forwards. When they spoke, they used words that seemed unusual to me, and I was like, oh. And I was left with a bit of self-doubt, having and I've sort of have not had to, but chosen to do a little bit of work, like processing and allowing that to land in me in a way that continues to support me and doesn't allow me to go down a rabbit hole of self-doubt. But that's where I started to go. I was like, I'm confused. I don't understand why I'm getting this feedback. It doesn't really make sense. And I've sort of just slowed myself down and allowed myself to really think about who that person is to me and who they have consistently been for me. And they have, it's making me cry. They have consistently, wow. They have consistently shown me, gosh, isn't that funny? Tears coming. They've consistently shown me love and respect. Consistently reflected my value, and that, in fact, that psychological safety in that relationship enabled me to take the risk of sharing what I was feeling about my work, and allowed me to process their observations and feedback. Did any of that make sense, Ali?
Well, let me see if this lands, because I think so. So first of all, anytime somebody shows emotion, it tells me that it really matters. So that matters a lot to you. And yeah. So, and when somebody matters like that to you and they offer you a piece of feedback that feels confronting or confusing, instead of rushing in to understand it, it sounds like you're just letting it sit there.
Two things were happening. I knew this person meant good.
Of course.
And the words were not words I'd expected. So I was sort of working to bring these pieces together of knowing this person has nothing, pretty much nothing but good for me, about me, intentions, and then these words that I didn't quite understand. And then sort of, but I think it was I think going back to the core piece, it was the psychological safety that I experience in that relationship. It's not a perfect relationship, but there's a lot of psychological safety available. And I think I've worked to allow myself to support myself and provide more psychological safety for myself, which means I'm much more expressive now than I was before. But I think the safety that was available in that relationship enabled me to stretch and say something that I would never have even thought before, but I certainly wouldn't have dared to say to another human being. And I said it.
It just leads me to think, like, the types of people that I end up working with are usually very heady. And when we get to working with other humans, this is why, like, people talk about psychological safety. We talk about the components and the traits, and we talk about Amy Edmondson, and we do all the things. Where did it come from? Why is it important? And all of that. But what you just described is exactly like if I'm leading a group of humans, that's what I want. I want their best. And I
mm,
can't get their best if they don't feel like they can tell me stuff.
mm,
And when you say it like that,
mm,
people are like, what is the big deal? But like the emotion that you're sitting in right now is really powerful for you. You want
mm,
to be your best and you want to
mm,
take in that feedback from this person.
mm,
This person
mm,
matters to you. You know this person has your back. You know this person
mm,
loves you unconditionally, wants you
mm,
to take really
mm.
amazing risks and build out the life that you desire.
Yeah. Yeah. And the the um the feedback they gave me reflected a a part of what might be available for me that I had never thought of.
Mm,
So it took some processing.
yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It took a bit of processing.
Well,
Mm,
even I'm just thinking like from a parent standpoint too.
mm,
I want my kids to tell me stuff.
mm,
And I want them, when they're making decisions, because they're not fully wired yet, I would like for them to, um, if they want, have some guidance in some of their decision making, right? When they're making big decisions, life altering decisions, it would be nice to have somebody else to talk to about that stuff. And I would love to be
mm,
that person for them. And I want them to be their best. And so part of that
mm,
psychological safety, like as a parent, is so important
mm,
because if they can't tell me stuff, that's fine as long as they've got somebody. It doesn't have to be me, but
mm.
I'm their mom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I desperately want it to be me. And so that's been
Mm,
a thing where I think we get the best out of people when they feel like they can tell us anything.
yeah.
You know, the other thing I was going to bring up really quick is the 12 steps for AA.
Mm,
One of the steps I don't remember now, um, but it's you do a fearless. It's called a fearless moral inventory of yourself, which I think is a really great practice. Like these 12 steps are really amazing.
mm,
And I learned them in Al-Anon, and I think they're a great way to live life. So, anyways, you do
mm,
a fearless moral inventory of yourself. So you look at kind of all of your shortcomings, and you just get really honest with yourself, all the ways you're deceiving yourself, and then you take that inventory and you share it with your higher power and another human being. There is something about like that psychological safety that allows us to be brave, that allows us to have
yeah.
courage, that allows us to move something forward. So there's,
Mm,
I don't know why. And AA is very clear, or the 12 steps are very clear. You have to
mm,
do it with another human.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I suppose the one reason why one would have to do it with another human and why that is so powerful is that we, to your point, sort of, is we face rejection. We risk rejection if we share something with another human.
yes,
We risk rejection, which
yes,
ties back to the living out on the savannah, and if we if we're rejected by the tribe, we're not going
we're in
to
trouble.
survive on our own. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in trouble. So it links maybe back, or it feels like it links back to that
To human
sharing,
nature.
yeah, sharing my truth
Yeah.
as I see it with another human being
Yeah.
feels like a risk. um
Yes.
because what if they reject me? What if they think I'm a freaking idiot?
Yeah.
Which would be, the
So I,
psychological version of death or something.
yes. Yeah. We're wired to like not be rejected because
Hmm.
that's not good for our survival.
Yeah,
I will share
yeah.
one more story. Um, I have clients who are partners and they were going into an event over the weekend, and they were like, we were going to talk about that because they were both anxious for different reasons.
Mm,
And so we started to clarify what's the anxiety about and whatever. And finally, I asked them what they wanted if the other person wasn't there. And so we had done a bunch of work. They feel safe, I believe. And they
mm,
both shared what they wanted. And it was really funny because they both wanted different things. And I'm like, so why is it that you're just saying this now? Like you're leaving tomorrow. Why hasn't this
mm,
come out before? This feels like a bit of an elephant in the room.
mm,
And it is, it's fear. For
mm,
some reason, having that third party in the room, that the
mm,
outsider coming in and being like, so I'm going to ask the dumb question, like, what do you want? What do you want? Oh, isn't that interesting? You guys don't want the same thing. How funny.
mm,
And then it was a conversation because once we had that, then we could move forward. I'm like, okay, well, how do you both get what you want?
mm,
Because it's totally possible.
mm.
You both get to do the thing.
But they didn't share up, hadn't shared up until that point because something had them not feel safe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fear of
And
rejection, fear of not getting what you want, fear of
yes,
being judged.
yeah, yeah. And the other thing that again, we're coming to a close, but um, saying what is happening inside my mind out loud, particularly if it's moving towards what I want more of in my life, is part of how I create the vision for what I want in my life. And so practicing that in a safe space
Yeah.
and getting feedback on it helps me to build out the vision of my life.
Yeah.
And that what was actually happening in that conversation for me. I was bravely, audaciously, I think, sharing what I see, part of
Yeah.
what I see for myself.
Yes.
And the response that I got back really surprised me. And I don't think any of that would have been available had we not developed the level
Yeah.
of of um, trust that we have in that relationship.
And that's what we want with the people that mean our
Mm,
kids, the people we work with, our spouses, our family
mm,
members.
mm, mm,
We want to be able to share. If I
mm,
see somebody that I love continuing to get stuck in a pattern that I can see and they can't because it's a blind spot, then
mm,
I want them to be able to hear me if
mm,
if and when that ever I get the opportunity to share it.
mm,
So it sounds like this person shared a blind spot with you and you were like, the hell? And yet, because you have this deep relationship and because you've built
mm.
the safety with this person, you may still be confused, but you're at least kind of looking at it like, huh? That's
Yeah, it was just
confusing.
something really new that I hadn't considered, and it's something I would normally and am probably still partly rejecting. And I know we're talking all in code and in theory, so it's not necessarily very helpful. But um,
Well,
I've cried, so
defensive,
it's been helpful for me in this
have you moved
conversation.
it? Because you were dismissive, you were defensive. Those are the two Ds, right? If I'm dismissive or defensive, I have to look at it. That's
Mm.
one of my roles. So where are you now? Are you still defensive?
No, no. I think I've moved to grudging acceptance.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm gonna wrap us up because we've been
please.
talking for nearly an hour, and I wonder what your
Yeah.
takeaway, if you have any takeaway from this conversation, what it is.
So the big one is, how do I be my own best friend?
Mm,
I think that was really helpful. I've heard it so many times before, and I always kind of like, whatever. And today
mm,
it landed that, what do I need to feel safe? I need to trust myself. I need to listen to my thoughts. I need to honor my feelings. I need to respect what's coming up in me, which I
mm,
don't do very well. So I want to start
mm.
treating myself as though I were my own best friend. How about you?
That's me out of a job. My takeaway is the real importance of psychological safety, it's a cornerstone for my growth. It is not something that is holding me back. That desire to be safe and secure is not a flaw. It is not a fault. It is not something holding me back. It is actually a stepping stone to my growth.
Yep.
That's my takeaway.
Boom.
Plane landed.
Well done, lady. All right. It's been an absolute delight. You have a good rest of your day and goodbye to all of our listeners.
All of our listener, all of her, every
All of
bit of
her.
her. Yes.
All right.
Mwah. Ciao,
Sayonara.
ciao.